waiting's over. Pre-season begins, or end of pre-season, and match games start with Munster this weekend. How much are you looking forward to it and getting the boys out there at last?
I'm genuinely looking forward to it. I don't mind saying, I say this at the start of every pre-season, I don't really know where we are. I think we're okay. We look pretty good. We're obviously a little bit scratchy in some positions because of end of season injuries and operations and those little tweaks and things you get. But it's like anything. I think we've got a pretty full strength back line there, which looks good and looks exciting. Forwards, front row looks pretty good, but back five of the scrum, we are a little bit scratchy, but it's great opportunities for people. Great opportunity for guys who probably didn't play as much last season, and particularly a couple of young guys who will be in the squad to really show that they're the people who can move forward. And as I've said before, the one thing I'm really looking forward to seeing is which of this group want to lead us this season. Someone, if we're going to have a good season, if we're going to win anything, someone, more than one probably, more than two, probably more than three, and the number will depend. There needs to be some leaders kind of stand up. There need to be some people that can create some momentum and can set some standards for the group and pull people forward. A perfect example last season, and it wasn't created just by him, but it was created by a lot of the momentum that the guys got behind. Sam Simmons starting to score tries, and the guys starting to realise that could be a real special season for him. That created a lot of momentum for us last season, and it created like a bit of a figurehead for us. As a team, how many times could we get him over the try line? Could we get him international caps? I know that was a big driver for some of the guys, and obviously it ended up with him having a great season and going with the Lions. So those are the kind of things I'd like to see us start to just see bubble and boil and come to the front this pre-season. I'm actually heading down into a team meeting in a minute, and it's very much going to be one of my points now as we get into game time, is who's going to stand up and who wants to lead from the front.
In the aftermath of Twickenham, there's the obvious disappointment of losing a final. A few months on, it's probably frustration now, isn't it, that we just couldn't quite finish the job?
Yeah, I don't mind saying it's a difficult one for me, because I think, as I've said before, finals are about the winner, and they genuinely are. And I think firstly, and as I said after the final, you've got to applaud Harlequins, because they had a remarkable season. For them, to the position they got themselves in at partway through the season, to how they got themselves to the final and how they performed in the final, I think that's really got to be applauded. For me, I'm still struggling with it a little bit, and that's not because I have any issue with Harlequins winning. They deserve to win, but it's why they deserve to win that I'm struggling with a little bit, because I think we could have been a good deal better than we were. Now, that's not taking away how well Harlequins performed on the day, but I think anybody who was watching us through the last few weeks of the season will know they weren't, and I'm not going to say vintage Exeter performances, because we've not been in the Premiership long enough to say we're a vintage team, but they weren't typical top quality Exeter Chiefs performances. They didn't have bits in there that I recognised as us being at our best, and that frustrated me a little bit, because I think myself and the other coaches could kind of feel it happening, and it almost didn't matter what we did. We couldn't divert the guys off the path they were on. I think they felt in control, which is a great quality if you get it right. That process of being in control and knowing you can deal with it, and knowing if you stick at things, you can be good and you don't have to panic, is a great quality. And it's one of the qualities that meant we won a double the year before, because we got in sticky situations, but we got ourselves through them. But other things have to align there. It's not, you can't not be going flat out and going for the jugular and all the things we talk about in top level sport. They have to be happening while you're sticking to your processes, while you're staying calm, while you're not becoming irrational, and while you're not kind of losing the plot and going off plan. That intensity has to remain there in big games, and that's what I feel we didn't quite have. We didn't quite have the top level intensity to go along with that kind of calmness and togetherness. Because in the end, we've lost what most people say was a great final by a couple of points. So, we weren't far off on the day, but I know where we lost our way a few times in those last few weeks of the season, and that is still something that I don't mind talking about. It's definitely for me going to be a driver all through this season, and I'm certainly not going to be afraid to mention it to the players as we go along, and they're probably going to get sick of me saying it, but I'm not going to just move on with that unless I see something different.
Munster this weekend, we know from past experience in the Champions Cup, even the pre-season over there a few years ago, tough test, and it'll be a nice test ahead of Leicester next week. Definitely,
and to be fair, probably what we need. Weirdly, I think this is one of those ones where the result is not massively what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, as I say, the guys who are going to stand up, the guys who are going to show that they're going to fight all season, and that to me is very much the deciding factor, particularly in the early weeks of a season. The early weeks.
The next week is going to be huge.
Exactly. The early weeks of a season when you've got law changes, law variations, different coaching groups, new players at sides, they come down to pretty simple things most of the time, and normally it's about who's prepared to work hard and stick at a game plan and be quite dogged and determined. Seasons always start like that, and those are the players who will take the pitch with us when we play Leicester.
You talk about youth will get its chance. Jack Knowles had a first pre-season in a long time. Yeah. He's probably raring to go, but as you say, the likes of Russ, your new signings, Sam Dixon, Josh, Sean O'Brien, they will all want to make their mark and show you what they're about.
Definitely, and I think this is that opportunity. Like for me, as much as I talk about like a new player coming in or a new player stepping up, this is probably the first chance that Knowles has had for years to go, right, here I am. I'm going to make a difference this year, lads, and I'm doing it from day one. I've been looking around every time I see him. I feel shocked. I'm like, what's this guy? Oh, it's Jack. No, and I know. We have fun. I have fun with him all the time because I walk around and normally, every season I seem to be saying to him, "You're going to get into double figures for us this year, Nosey," because sometimes that's what it feels like. And that, to be fair, that's nothing to do with him. That's just because he plays international rugby and he's picked up some relatively serious injuries in the last few years. But he looks fit. He looks fresh. He looks hungry. He looks to me like a guy who's really driven by what he wants to achieve for the team. I can see it in him and I can hear it in what he says and in his body language, and I think that could be quite a powerful thing for us. And like I say, I'm looking forward to seeing him on the field from the start, seeing what he can perform like with a full pre-season under his belt. But as I said, you said there's other opportunities for other players as well. Those new guys are going to have an opportunity at the weekend. I think Munster, as you say, will be a great test for us. And from what I've seen, I think they could be one of the form teams, obviously, in their competition this year. So it's an important game for them as well, with their last pre-season game against Bath being cancelled. It's going to be quite a big occasion here on Saturday. I think it's going to be a big old crowd. It looks like it's going to be quite a nice day. It's going to be worth coming and watching.
I was going to say the new terrace coming into place, but having that bigger crowd back, we saw the final, but generally 2,000 people here last year. It was weird, isn't it? It's been weird for 18 months now.
It has been different, and I think now, what do you do now? We've got a group of players who can walk out on the field. We're going to be back to capacity pretty much by the time the game kicks off, and from then on our capacity is only going to grow, because by the time the grandstand seats are in and it's fully done, we're going to be at nearly 16,000. If I was a player walking out on the pitch, I'd want to give those guys something to cheer about, and I want to see that crowd grow every week, and I want to see people want to pour through those gates and come and support us. So we've got our part to play in that. And that all starts, on days like playing Munster.